What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the Armchair Operator, and welcome to today's video. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you enjoy today's content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to the channel, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you also enjoy today's content. Now, like I said, today we're going to dive into the HK VP9A1F. This bad boy you see right here. And I got the chamber flag in there for safety reasons, but we'll get into all that in a sec. First thing I gotta do my housekeeping. Y'all know I gotta do my housekeeping. Plus, I have a little short message after my housekeeping. First things first, YouTube. I am not selling any firearms or accessories on this channel. All of my videos are strictly for educational and entertainment purposes, okay? The second bit of housekeeping, I got to give a huge shout out to basically all of you all, every single person that's watching this video, that's liking, that's disliking, that's commenting, that's sharing. I just want to personally thank every single one of y'all. Lately, I've been running into some of my subscribers out there, just out there in the world, whether I'm going to events or going to a gun show and different things. And it's always a pleasure to meet some of y'all. So I just want to give you my heartfelt thank you for actually giving a crap about this channel and rocking with your boy. You have no idea how much that I personally really appreciate you all. So thank you so much to y'all. And lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to the team over there at the Bunker Gun Shop. My guys Chris, my guys Frank, the entire Bunker 1 and Bunker 2 team. Thank you all so much for rocking with your boy and supporting this channel basically since day one. Now, important message I gotta say. Lately, YouTube has been kind of doing some very interesting things to us firearms related content creators, and it's nothing new. I don't know if there's something in the air or in the water, whatever the case may be. But we've been encountering some static. I say all that to say this. If you really do appreciate what we do, if you really like the video, please do us a solid, like, comment, and share the video. Matter of fact, you could even hype the video up. That will really help us out a lot. That'll get the video out in the algorithm, get some more eyes on it, and it'll really help us to really stay afloat in these difficult times. One of the main reasons why I make these videos is to not just to share this information with all of you all, but to also promote safe and positive firearms ownership and usage out there. So that's the most important takeaway from all of these different videos, even though we're bringing different products to you and giving you our opinion. But the most important part of it is to show the world that civilian firearms ownership is a great thing. It is a positive thing. You can be safe with it. You can be legal with it. And you can also help others to be safe, legal with their tools should they decide to take the journey in the world of firearms. It's basically all about empowerment and education at the end of the day. Okay. Now, with all that being said, let's segue back into our regular schedule program, which is basically this right here, the VP9A1F. So it looks a little bit different than how you would normally see a VP9A1 in the store, and we're going to get into all that. What we typically do is we're going to go on over to the tabletop, and I'm going to give you a more up-close personal view of this particular piece. We're going to talk about what it comes with, some of the specs and the features. Then we're going to slide on over to the range, see how it handles on the range, and then we're just going to come on back over to the review space and close this thing out. You know how we do now. So without further ado, let's get on over to the tabletop and let's get started. Welcome to the review space, everybody. We have the VP9A1 here. Basically, the way you get it when you see it in the store. So this is the box. Obviously, this is the sleeve that it comes in, but I just wanted to show you everything, kind of do more like an unboxing, even though you already saw what the product looks like. But anyway, that's the sleeve. This is the box, nothing special, it's just cardboard. And then we get inside here, and then, man, it's like peeling back an onion, ain't it? And we have ourselves a nice carrying case. HK, I will give them props. They do give you really good carrying cases. I showed you the carrying case during my MR556A4 first impressions video. If y'all didn't see that, go ahead and take a look at that particular video if you want to get more information about the MR556. I did a deep dive in that, but right now we're talking about the VP9A1F. So let's get this guy opened up, and this is what we're looking at. So you got your owner's manual here. As you can see, this is basically the two newest pistols in their lineup. This is the A1F, their new full size, kind of more so like a 4.5-inch barrel here with a full 17 round grip. And then you have their new K, which is short, which stands for Kurtz or short, which actually has the standard 4-inch barrel and slide assembly, which most people are familiar with the VP9s, but it has a slightly shorter grip that has the 15 round capacity. So think more so Glock, a true Glock 19 size gun, and this is more of your Glock 17, Glock 47 size gun. But anyway, that's the manual. And then of course we have quite a few things here, but before I get into that, let's look at the firearm. So here is the firearm in all its glory. Now, y'all know how I get down. We gotta show clear. Even though we got the chamber flag right here, we gotta be safe, right? All right, so boom, we're gonna get that out of there. This fire chamber is empty. Magazine is empty. Boom. Firearm is verified clear, and I do not have any live ammunition in the review space, and we're filming in a safe and controlled environment. All right, disclaimers out of the way. So here we are. This is the VP9A1F. So to be perfectly honest, I thought there were a lot of changes that were made between the older VP9s and this particular model. Come to find out, there were some, but not a whole lot of changes. And please forgive my ignorance. I have not shot an actual VP9, the older VP9s as of yet. I have shot some of the clones. So the clones are kind of similar, like the SAR9s and so on and so forth, from what I'm hearing. And I did manage to shoot a SAR9 next to this particular gun. And there were some similarities and there were some noticeable differences between the shooting experience. All right. So here we are, HKVP9A1F. Now, they do have models that come with this particular red dot right out of the box. This is the Holosun SCS green dot for the VP9. Not sure if you can see that right there. SCS VP9OR. So this particular Holosun dot is made specifically for the VP9. However, this Holosun I do not believe it originally shipped with this particular VP9. I say that because the sight arrangement on this VP9 is more so of the standard. So you have the blacked out rear and you have the green tritium front sight up here. Typically, when you get the VP9 with the Holosun, you have a blacked out rear and a blacked out front. So I'm not really sure. Also, I didn't say this already. I purchased this particular firearm used. So I want to go into a little bit of that. And to be perfectly honest with you, for what I spent out the door to get this particular firearm with a red dot, it was a deal. It was a deal. It was a very good deal. And that was actually one of the reasons why I went in and took the plunge and bought this thing, just for the cost. I can't really talk about cost, but let's just say that it was buying this with the dot used was less than buying just this new. I'm just going to put that out there and leave it at that. But anyway, let's talk more about the features. So let's start with the Holosun. So like I said, this is a direct mount made specifically for the VP9. It is 100% solar powered. And as you can see, it sits pretty low on the slide. The advantage to this is that you get a native lower 1/3 co-witness with the red dot. Or should I say green dot, because this is a green dot. Now, this particular dot only really has 2 brightness settings. I'm going to try to get the dot in the camera as best I can, so that way you could kind of see it. All right, so that's the dot. I'm going to try to get that in the camera. So that's 1 brightness setting. And then there's a button on the side. and you can brighten it up, as you can see it right there, and you could actually push and hold it to shut it off. And it also push the hold to change the reticle. So you can just start off with, I believe it's a 6 MOA dot, and then you have the 6 MOA dot with the 40 MOA ring on the end, on the outside, kind of like the donut of death. But I like the green dot, and to be honest, even though this window is roughly the same size as a micro dot, it's not bad in my opinion. However, I will say this Holosun is roughly around 400 units a measure if you were to purchase this new. So personally, I would say this: I'm glad that I was able to get this particular pistol the way that I got it, being used with the dot, because I am the type of person whereas I like to have more options, whereas brightness settings and so on and so forth, and a serviceable battery. Like I said, this is 100% solar, and the good thing is you don't have to worry about batteries. That's cool. You don't have to worry about battery compartments and all that. The downside is once this battery starts to show its age, and I don't know how many discharge recharge cycles this particular lithium ion batteries are able to handle, but at some point all batteries will start to show their age, where they won't be able to hold as much as a charge as they were able to when they're new. So they all have a shelf life. That's one of the reasons why I like to have a serviceable battery, whether we're talking a CR1632 or CR2032 or whatever. So that way, when that battery starts to degrade, I could just replace the battery with a fresh battery and keep it pushing. For something like this, you don't get that option. So me personally, if I was purchasing this firearm without a dot, knowing what I know now, I would probably source a different red dot just so that I could have that extra bit of security of being able to service the battery when needed, and also having a bigger window. But honestly, I still say that this is a good dot in my opinion, and it works with this setup. And I also like the look of it. And we already talked about the sights. You got the tritium sight in the front, and you have the blacked out sight in the rear. And of course you have HK's customary striker status indicator. I don't know if you can see that, but of course red, the striker is cocked. If you don't see the red dot, that means the striker is not cocked, okay? Now, one thing about this particular gun, it's a fully ambi gun because you have a slide, catch, slide release on both sides, like so. And you also have the European paddle style mag release. So you got a release over here, and also you got a release over here. Now, before I actually got my hands on this particular gun, I had mixed feelings about the paddle mag release, and that was mainly because I never shot a firearm that had the paddle mag release prior to now. That being said, I like the idea of the paddle mag release, and it's actually pretty cool in a way, but it does take some getting used to. I'm used to the push button style, which I'm sure most people who are watching this video are used to the push button style. It's just so easy and intuitive. You hit that thing, drop the mag, you put the mag in, you just keep on going. But I like it, but I will still need a lot of practice and a lot of training to be able to activate that mag release as quickly as I can with the standard push button style. That being said, there are advantages to this style. First thing, you don't have anything getting in the way of your support hand when you're grasping the firearm. A lot of times with some of the, I'll say B style, because that's what HK calls it. They call it the B style, or the push button mag release. If the button is a little too high, when I'm gripping the pistol, it kind of gets in the way. Now, I experienced that a lot of the times with, say, something like the TTI Combat, or, you know, any other firearm that has a more of a competition style mag release. That's why I tend to run mine either with a standard height or a little lower profile. So that way my big old meat hooks don't accidentally hit the mag release, or I don't have something just cheese gratering my thumb every time I fire the pistol. So this is an advantage. Now, as you can see, I have Handle It grips tapes on here, the sandpaper tapes, okay? I did that to add a bit of an extra grip. to the firearm. Now, with that brings me to probably my biggest con with the pistol, honestly, is the lack of grippy texture. Now, I get the fact that this is more so a duty gun or an EDC, a firearm that's meant to be carried all day long. And a lot of you all may be perfectly fine with the standard grip texture that comes with the pistol. Personally, I wasn't. And even like, for example, a lot of firearms don't have texture up here. This is where your thumb rides. And I think having texture right there is actually something that we should see more of even with duty guns. I mean, I get the rationale by not putting too much texture on a pistol, especially if you have to carry it all day long, particularly if you're carrying inside the waistband or appendix. But you should still have the options of having more aggressive texture, especially with a pistol like this where you can customize the grip to your liking. You know, having some more aggressive texture panels, at least in the box, would have been really good. But anyway, I have handled grip tapes here, and for me, like I said, it has been a game changer as far as the actual feel of the pistol in my hand. That also being said, one of the great things about HK VP9s is that you really can customize the grip to your liking. Now, with that, let's take a look at some of the accoutrements back here. So as we're talking about the grip, we're going to look at some of these extra parts here. So the new VP9s come with like 1, 2, 3, 4 back straps, right? With different sizes like small, medium, and large. I believe the large one is already on the firearm, and it was like that when I got it. But they also give you back straps that have a little bit more of material for the beaver tail. And these are more so designed to increase your length of pull for your trigger travel. So with those of you who really have big hands, you might want to put one of these on here. So that way you just have that extra bit of material that give you the length of pull for your trigger finger that you desire. So you do have that option. To change the back straps, there's simply just a little roll pin here. You probably can't see it because of the grip tape, but there's a roll pin right there. You just get, like, I believe it's a 1/16 punch that guy out and slide the back strap off. The grip panels then slide off, and then you can configure it to your liking. Now, with that, this is the actual standard texture on the back straps. Now, like I said, for a lot of you, this may be sufficient. But for me, if I have sweaty hands, or God forbid, if I have bloody hands or wet hands, whatever the case may be, this is just not going to cut it for me. I just wanted something a bit more secure. So that's why I went with the grip tape. Now, these are the actual side panels, the replaceable side panels that you could slide onto the gun. Okay, they're of varying thicknesses. Not exactly. So these are the these are the thinnest ones. These are the thinnest, these are the slimmest. And these are probably your mediums, and the thick boys, are on the grip itself, right? So the way the grip is set up right now is I would say it fits really good in my hand, and it gives me a good enough purchase to really get in on the gun. I would say, as far as the VP9, this is the only other polymer gun that I have handled and shot that rivals the M&P in terms of ergonomics, in my opinion. But again, that's just my opinion. All right, one thing to note. So, like I said, you have different combinations as far as how you want to set your grip up. But sometimes if you, like, all right, for example, if you're using one of the thinner grip panels like this, and let's say you have a larger back strap on it like this, you may see a bit of a gap between the palm swell and the actual back strap itself. That's just kind of what it is. That's just because there's less material here and more material here. So don't freak out. That's just the way that it goes. It might not bother your shooting grip. It might bother your shooting grip, but I say all that to say, just come up with a combination that works and run with it. And if the texture is not good enough for you out of the box, but you still want to, you just want a simple solution, then some handle it grip tape, sandpaper tape might be the solution for you. They also have aftermarket panels, palm swell panels and back straps available. I believe it was Taylor Freelance, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But y'all know how to find information like that. The same way people find information on everything nowadays. So anyway, enough about the grip and the back strap story. We just gonna set that aside. The pistol comes with 2 magazines out of the box. We have a flush fit 17 rounder right here, and then we have our YouTube compliant 20 rounder, and basically in the free states without those crazy restrictions. That's what it looks like with the 17 round, with the 20 round mag in and the 17. To be perfectly honest, I was a little surprised that it only had a 17 round capacity, especially considering that you have a lot of other handguns that have higher capacities like CZ and Canic, for example. But 17 rounds, hey, it's still good. It's a duty gun, like I said. And plus, you also have 20 rounders available if you can find them. And they also have extension, so you could get a 20 rounder and just get you like a +4 or +5 extension and just give yourself another 20 round magazine. So it's just a lot of different ways that you can go about this. Last and certainly not least, it does have the optics plate that would naturally be on the top of the slide here, as you can see. And this is another reason why I think the optic was added later, because it wouldn't come in a sandwich bag if it was from HK Direct. And of course, we have our cable lock because safety, right? All right, so that basically is going to conclude the tabletop portion of this. Let's slide on over to the range and let me just give you my thoughts about how it handles under fire. Welcome to the range portion of the review. We have the VP9A1F right here. As you can see, we got the Streamlight TLR1 HL weapon light on here. And we're going to start things off by just putting a few rounds on target. I got the target sitting there at 10 yards. My dot is already sighted in. And let's just get a feel for how the VP9 shoots, okay? So let's get to it, right? We got a lot of work to do. Enough yapping. Let's do some shooting. All right, so we're going to start from holster draw. Take it slow and steady. Right now I'm rocking my Black Hawk Omnivore for the TLR1 weapon light. All right, so let's go. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's take a look at the target real quick. So on the money, for the most part, I threw a couple of them. So just in defense of myself, I just shot a match and I was running my Phoenix Trinity H. So I gotta get used to the striker trigger. However, as far as the H duty goes, it's a duty gun. It feels really good in the hand. I really like the palm swells. I had to address the lack of texture issue. Throw some handle it grip sandpaper grip tape on there, and it feels phenomenal. The trigger is good. I think it's better than the average Glock trigger with the short reset, so you can really run it fast. And the way it's sprung now, I don't know, I think it's pretty good. But let's put the target back out there and let's pick up the cage just a little bit. All right, round 2. Let's load and make ready. Like I said, we're gonna pick the cadence up just a little bit on this one. Not bad. Let's take a look at the target. All right, so we got a little bit of muzzle climb there through that one, but either way you look at it, I would say he ain't gonna make it. So let's try this. I got my shot timer here. Let's do a couple quick build drills, say 5 yards, and see how I do. But recoil impulse wise, it's a duty gun, race gun, but you can race with it if you want. But anyway, let's get the first target up there and let's do some build drills. Okay, I got 13 rounds loaded up in the mag, and I got another 20 round mag. I got the target at 5 yards. This time we're going to time it. Build drills, 5 shots as quickly as I can get it. I have an active retention holster, so it's not going to be a competition speed holster, but we're just going to do a little test under stress and see how this gun performs. All right, so let's go. We're going to load and make ready. All right, shot timer time. On the beat. Whew. Not too bad. What are we looking at? 179, 202, 219, 234, and 253. Not bad at all. All right, let's go again. That was terrible. I couldn't find my dot. Oh, look at that. That's rotten. 3.80. First shot, 3 seconds. I can clean that up. I can clean that up. Oh. I gotta get used to that paddle mag release though, man. That's the thing. 7.32 first shot, 2.15 a little slow, 2.38. That's the reach. 7.10, 7.32. So let's take a look at the target real fast. See, through a couple of these. That was only because I didn't really acquire my dot just yet, but for the most part, like we here, 5 yards. So here's the thing. One thing I will say is that the recoil impulse is forgiving. It's a duty gun, so don't expect something like a high-end race pistol or anything like that. There are some things that you can do to tame the recoil, like putting in an aftermarket guide rod and stuff like that, but personally, I don't really think you need it. But you might want to choose to speed it up a little bit. As far as the duty pistol goes, I would say that it's pretty damn awesome. It's a little pricey, I will admit, but comparing that to your average Glock where you have better ergonomics, probably even superior reliability, a better trigger with the A1 sound, and a good sight pistol, VP is kind of hard to do. Only thing about it is, I got to get used to that paddle mag release. So my reloads are going to be slow because I'm used to the push button. But I like the fully ambi nature of the paddle mag release. So, hey, it's a training issue. It's not a gun issue. But anyway, let's put some more rounds down range, y'all. Then we're going to head on back to the review space and close this thing out. All right, y'all, we still doing build drills. We're just going to finish the magazine out, and then we're going to go back to the review space and finish it. I froze on that last one. 303, first shot, 199, a little bit on the slow side. 218, 235, 251, 303. All right, let's go again. A little bit better. 263 is a total. First shot 193, still a little on the slow side. 213, 229, 246, 263. Should be almost done. All right, not too bad. 256, first shot, 186, getting a little better. 206, 222, 240, last shot, 256. All right, last round. And we're out. All right. First shot, 169. Spiciest one yet. And we 189, 206, and that's it. Let's check the target. So 5-yard bill drill. Hey, listen, I call that a win. I don't see not one mic on the board. But then again, you don't really see mics like that. But anyway, no mics. But all in all, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up the first shots. Let's head on back to the review space and close this thing out. Welcome back to the review space. So as you saw from the shooting footage, the VP9A1F is a very good shooting gun. The ergonomics just feels so natural in my hand the way I have it set up. And the handle it grip tape is, man, like I said, it's a game changer. That extra bit of traction helped me out a lot. Plus, not only that, with the handle it tapes, there's something about it. It feels almost kind of rubbery in a sense. Like there's a little bit of a give. It kind of cushions it a bit, even though you do have that extra grippy texture to it. So I think it's really good. In terms of like self-defense range and so on and so forth, I think the HoloSun SCS green dot is more than adequate. Even if you want to try to hit targets at distance, I think it's going to serve you just fine if you have that on your setup. Like I said, you do lose a bit of customization ability by going with the SCS green dot as opposed to, say, maybe like another type of HoloSun or a Trijicon or something like that. But at the same time, it does what it needs to do. Now, let me just back up for a second. So when I first got the gun, I field stripped it because I wanted to see how much wear was on the pistol prior to my first time shooting it. So I noticed that there was almost hardly any wear on the thing. But I also noticed that the locking block and the trigger components had a type of coating on it. And they actually have what's called a nickel Teflon coating. And that is actually the secret to why the trigger in the newer VP9s feel broken in from the factory. Like that's the best way I can explain it. And on my trigger pull gauge, they were breaking at somewhere between 4.4 and 4.5 pounds on average. For a duty gun and an EDC gun, I think that's more than adequate. Now, like I said, it actually feels very phenomenal in the hand. And one thing about HK, they have a way of overbuilding every damn thing. And if you take a look at the locking bar, matter of fact, how about I just show y'all real quick? So YouTube, just real fast. Like I said, I'm not modifying any firearms. I'm just going to give you just a little bit of magic right quick and boom. All right, so here. Not sure if you can see that, but that's the locking block. Look how beefy that thing look. That thing is crazy. But now you can see like how nice and shiny that is. That's that nickel Teflon coating. And one thing you can be certain that it is very corrosion resistant. It's also easy to clean off. It's very easy. It doesn't take a lot to clean it. It's pretty dirty because it's been well used. I actually shoot my firearms, you understand? But you get the idea. I mean, all in all, this thing has been very reliable for me throughout. I didn't anticipate that it wouldn't be, but I only have about close to 400-ish rounds at this particular point. Maybe I will be doing a 1,000-round follow-up video. It's going to take some time to get there. I don't anticipate any particular problems, but all in all, so far so good. Now granted, last thing I'm going to say, now granted, this is an expensive pistol, especially if you buy it new. However, I will say this: you're getting something that's being used by military and law enforcement agencies in many different countries. So I don't think you'll go wrong with this, but also just understand that it's not a cheap buy, especially if you're buying it new. But if you find a used one like I did and look up and get the pistol with the dot, you might actually come up with a good deal. So just keep your eye out, man. You never know. But that's going to be it for now for the VP9A1F. Do you guys have any experience with VP9s in general? Whether you're talking about the A1, whether you're talking about the old school, whether you're talking about the match, whatever. Let me know down in the comments, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's rap a taste. Do you feel as though that they're overpriced for what you're getting? Some people feel that way. Some people don't. I personally, I think they're expensive, but from my experiences with HKs, they're tanks, and tanks don't come cheap. But anyway, you let me know what you think down in the comments below. And with that, I'm going to turn y'all loose. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This is your big homie, Armchair Operator, signing out, y'all. Peace.